Hi, and welcome to Bytes and Bits. I'm Bob Grant, and this is part 9 of the Learn to Code Asteroids course. We're almost at a full game, but there's a couple of bits that we're missing at the moment, and a couple of bits which we forgot to do on the way through. So we really need to sort those out first and actually have a complete working game, and then we'll be able to go on to the very final part, which is adding in some enemy ships. So let's get these bits sorted out in this lesson, and then we'll finish off the game after that. So we'll go straight into the code and get working. The first thing we need to fix is our polygon in polygon code. So if we could move down to that, so polygon in polygon, what we'll find is that the actual code's all working fine. Let me just move into a smaller font size here. But what it's doing, it is doing a lot more calculations than it needs to. And I noticed then as I was working on the next bit of the course, that when we had lots of explosions taking place and there were lots of asteroids flying around, the game was actually starting to slow down a bit. And what's happening in here is that when we do our polygon and polygon, this is where we're going to be checking our player ship against each individual asteroid. So when there's lots of asteroids flying around, we're doing this code a lot of times. And what it was doing in here is it is actually going through each point in the asteroids and each point in the player ship and running this point and polygon code to work out if the two are overlapping. Now remember, whenever we were going through the theory for that, we said that this whole process is quite intensive because we have to do lots of sort of line interceptions and so on. So what we were doing was doing a coarse collision detection first, where we used our ball bounding box, or our bounding ball collision detection, to just decide whether the two objects were close enough to even bother trying to do this more intricate testing. And of course that should happen just in here, but it isn't happening. We do it when we do our check player bullets or check bullet hits. If we go in here, we'll see that we do a coarse check first, and we then say if we have this function called check separation, and that checks two position objects. So a bullet position and an asteroid position, and then a minimum distance between them. And if the two objects are less than that distance apart, then we get a true answer back, which says you need to do a more intricate collision detection. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to copy this block out so we can copy that then general structure. And I'm going to go back to my polygon in polygon collision detection. Okay, and inside here then, I'm going to paste that back in. Let me just tab that back out again. So we're saying here, so we're going to check the separation. So remember, we have shape 1 coming in and shape 2 coming in. So we want to test the separation between shape 1's position and shape's 2 position. We also then, in both of our asteroids and our player ship, we added in an attribute which was the radius. So that then dictated the maximum radius that these objects could have, and that was designed for this ball collision detection algorithm. So what we want to do in here is our minimum separation then is our shape1.radius plus our shape2 radius. So that coarse check then says if these two objects are closer than this minimum distance, then we go off and do all of our intricate polygon and polygon collision detection. Otherwise, they've actually missed, so there's no point doing any of that, and that will save a lot of processing time. So we need to come down here. So we need to check where the end of this is. So that 4 runs from here to here. And this is the handy thing about putting in these little comments. So I know that this end matches up with that 4. So I know that this 4 matches up with this end, which means that my collision detection is all happening in there. So that is the end if, and that is our coarse detection. So our code now comes in, it does our course detection. If the objects are closer than the minimum distance, we go off and do our polygon in polygon, and that will then end up returning either a true value if it finds a collision, or if, so this is the end of our if statement here, so if they are not within that minimum distance, then they have definitely missed each other, so we simply return false back, there's no collision. So let me just check that that actually works then. If I go to Control R and Z, and again, all of our collision stuff is working, and it should then crash as normal. Okay, so that's our first thing fixed then, and we now have our more optimized, in other words, it's using as little processing power as possible, so we've optimized our polygon in polygon code. So the next thing we need to have a look at then is what happens when we shoot all of the asteroids. We haven't yet really done that in our testing. So if we actually do shoot all the asteroids, well, really the game just carries on with no asteroids, which isn't really the best thing to do. What we really need to do now is to get the game to pause for a while, keeping the player ship and the player bullets all going, and then regenerate a new set of asteroids. And we would probably need to have a level counter, so at some point as the levels increase, we maybe make the asteroids move faster or make the game slightly harder in some way. So let's have a look at how we can do that then. So going back to our code then, at the very top of our code we have a number of states that the game can be in, and really we need to add a new one into this. So let's come in here and let's add in a new game. So this is going to be the new level delay state, and I'm setting mine there to number 18, and again these numbers I just put them in order anyway just to make it look neater. There's no real reason for that. But we have this new level delay. So we need to add that then into our main tick function so that our system actually understands that game state. So let's have a look in here. So we want to then come in here and say, so else if game state has the value of, and that new state delay, then, let me just make this slightly bigger. We want it to do a function then. So let's call this one do new level delay. So do new level delay. So that will be the tick function that will take care of, oh sorry, doesn't need anything in there. So that's the new game state that will take care of when all the asteroids have been hit. Delay for a little while and then give us a new set of asteroids to work with. So we now need to go and create this function. So let's come down a bit here and let's do it after our do ship kill delay. Well, that function here actually does a delay, so let's put it in just after that, and we'll probably be using quite a bit of code from that. So let's do our function do new level delay, and let's just end that function so we know where we are. So let's have a look at this do ship delay function then. So it does this do no ship display, which was keeping all of the asteroids and stuff going on the screen. So let's just copy the whole thing just for now. Just to copy this down, we'll take out the bits we don't need in a second. So that's the end there. So let's copy that and let's drop it in here. Okay. So we'd have this do no ship display function. So let's leave that in for now and see if what that does. So we've got this delay timer then, and we're counting down using this delay timer. So we need to make sure that we remember that when we jump into this new level delay, we actually set up this delay timer, which again is one of these global variables that we've defined at the top of the screen. So we count down on this delay timer. If it reaches 0, then we need to do something. So inside here, our system is going through resetting the player ship then. So we don't need to do all that. So we will need to do a game state change. So let's just take out that. And our game state will go back to game state, and we called it play, I think, was the actual main game. So we're going to be doing something here. We're coming in. We will have to set this delay timer when we've run out of asteroids. our player ship and all will be on the screen. So actually that function, if I remember then, the do no ship display, well, it does exactly what it says. It doesn't display the ship. Where we actually wanted to do the other way around. We want it to display the ship, but not anything else. So let's just take that out for now. So once we then run our delay timer runs out, really what we need to do is we need to then generate a new set of asteroids. And I think we did have a function here which does that for us. So if we come in here and look at generate asteroids, okay, so this function actually does do the regenerating of the asteroids. So we simply need to call this. So I'm just going to copy that. And let's jump back to our new level. Our new level delay. Okay, so once our timer runs out, we want to regenerate our asteroids and then simply jump back into our playing state. That of course then will leave our player ship where it is, which is what we want to do, all the player bullets and so on. So that handles the delay timer there. All we need to do then is to make sure that we keep certain things on the screen. So we're going to just clear the screen and then do the correct versions of the update and draw functions. So let's have a look at our do play game function. So do play game. Okay, so we clear the screen and we then do a number of updates and draws. So again, we can copy all of this out of here. So I'm just using shift with my down arrow key and that just copies certain lines. So let's Control C to copy that and then go back to our new level delay and then come in here and paste that in. Okay, so we want our player ship to be totally under control. So we need to check the player buttons, move the player ship. We know there aren't any asteroids there and therefore we don't need to check if the player ship is going to be killed. The player is able to fire bullets, so we need to do that. And we need to move any particles that happen to be around in case some explosions are still taking place. Okay. On the drawing side then, we need to draw the player ship. We don't need to draw the asteroids because there aren't any at the moment. We need to draw the player bullets, draw any particles, and draw the game info. So that should keep the correct things working on the screen while we have our delay as we regenerate the asteroids. So again, we are waiting for the explosions to finish and so on, and then we're going to respawn the asteroids and go back to our game state play. So that should be that state covered now, and then the exit from the state covered as well. So really all we need left to do then is to work out how do we get into this state and set this delay timer. So obviously we're going to be in the play game state. So that is handled by this do play game function. So inside here we're doing all of our bits and pieces, and we then have our checks and so on. So after we've gone through and done all of this, what we really want to do now is to check to see if all of our asteroids have been killed. So we know that our asteroids are held in a table, or as we're using it as an array called asteroids. So if the number of asteroids in that array is 0, then we've got to the end of this level. So we can say that. So if the number of elements in our asteroids array is equal to 0, then this is actually a new level. So what we need to do is we need to set our delay. So delay timer. We'll set that equal to 180, so that gives us 3 seconds. And really what we're doing there is letting the player, if they were actually at the edge of the screen, when we respawn the asteroids, they will of course then be right on top of the player. So it gives the player a little bit of a chance to get back into the center of the screen so that they can then start the next level in the correct position. And then we want to do our game state, and we want to set that equal to whatever it is we called it on this new one, and I've forgotten what that was. So it's state new level delay. So let's do that. Now let's come down here, and that drops into there. So that should then set it off into that delay loop. And at that point, we want to do our end of our if statement. Okay, so that then works out if we've got no asteroids left, sets a delay timer off, and changes state to that new level delay. So that should be everything. So let's just test that out. And the easy way to test this out then is if we come up here, we can very easily, because of the way we programmed it, we can say that we can change it down to one asteroid, so we don't have to go through and shoot everything to get this tested. So let's run that game and see if this actually works. So here we are. Let's go and shoot this asteroid then. So if we come in here, and if we shoot that one, we should have a little bit of a delay, hopefully. And then our game should respawn. And there we go. So, kill the asteroids. Oh. My aim is not fantastic on this. Come on, let's shoot the asteroid. There we go. So 1, 2, 3, asteroid. And that's all working. Okay. So we've got that bit working now. All we need to do is to get the level then working. So we've got up here, we've got our player score. So we would need to set our player level, and that will start off at level 1. We then know that when we initialize our game, so we have a function called init game. So if we go down to that, again, we'll need to make sure that when we initialize our game for the new game, we set our player level back to 1. When we finish a level, and again, that's in the doPlayGame function. Okay, so at this point here, this is our brand new level. So we'll say that our player level is equal to our player level plus 1. So we're going to increment that variable. And then all we need to do is display that somewhere on the screen. So we do have one that is our game info. So if we search for info, so draw game info. Okay. So we were doing our game info in a number of different colors. So let's carry on with that then. So we were using this here. Remember, we used this print statement. And when we print something out, the print statement actually returns back how many pixels it took to print that string out. So we're catching that then with our width. So we can continue to do that down here. So what we can say is, so for our next bit of code, we can say width equals the last width plus that. So we're gradually building up the width from all of these different bits of text. So the next time we print something, we want to then go here. So let's do that, and let's put that in. So what we're doing is we're saying, so our new width is going to be incremented again, but this time with some different text. So the text we want in here then is a space followed by level and a space. And we want to print that in color number 14 to match up with the score. Yep. So again, we get the width of the first bit of text. Then we increase this variable width. So we increment it with the current width plus the width of this text. And again, that's where we're printing it at that width. So our X value is incrementing it on to the right all the time. Then we get the next version of our width is the current version, which is this string plus this string. And then we increment it with this string. And then our final bit down here then is if we capture, actually we're going to capture that one and put that in down here. So in this one here, we don't actually need to capture the width, but we'll do it anyway. And we're then saying we're going to print our player level value, width number of pixels in, and in color 11. So that should give us our, so it should then say score, score, and then level, and whatever our level is. So let's run that and see if that works. So let's do Control R, and in here. So if we now shoot that asteroid up on top there. And that last asteroid. And there we are, level 2. And our new asteroid. And then if we shoot all the asteroids in this, we should go to level 3. Oh wow. One asteroid on the screen and I'm still getting killed, so that's not a good start. Right, so here we go. And last asteroid, and we should now be to level number 3. And again, we haven't got a space in between there, so let's just come back out here. And let's just make sure I put the space the wrong side of the inverted commas. So let's give it 2 spaces in there. Run that, and that looks a bit better on the screen now. Okay, so I think we've got all the bits of the game ready now. So we've got all of our asteroids, we're shooting asteroids, we're colliding with asteroids, we've got our explosions, our smoke effect, and we now can finish one level and move on to the next. And as I say, we haven't yet done anything about making the next level harder, but we can have a look at that at the end. But the very next thing we need to do is to add in some alien spaceships and get those firing at us. So that's what we're going to work at in the very next lesson. So I hope you're enjoying the course. Stick with it. We're only I reckon one more lesson to do to get these alien spaceships working, and then we'll have completed our asteroids course. So look forward to seeing you in the very next lesson. Have fun and see you soon. Don't forget to visit the course pages for this project. There you'll be able to download the code for this lesson and get lots of extra hints and tips. You'll also get access to all my other programming, electronics and gaming projects. All the links are in the description below. For more games programming, electronics projects and retro gaming, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel and visit my website.